This is the new Dacia Bigster. It's Dacia's biggest and most expensive car ever. And in this review, we're telling you what it's like. Before we start, if you want to see lots more reviews like this, make sure you subscribe to our channel. So Dacia's lineup in the UK is bigger and more diverse than it has ever been. Things still start with the Dacia Sandero at the lower end of the lineup, which is a small hatchback, of course. And you've also got the very small, very good value, but pretty compromised, fully electric Dacia Spring. Then above those models, you've got the Dacia Duster, which is an SUV. And then there's the 7-seat Dacia Jogger. And then there's this, the Dacia Bigster. And even though this is at the top of Dacia's lineup, this, like the rest of the products from the Romanian brand, is still incredibly good value. And that's because even though this is the size of something like a VW Tiguan, the pricing is much closer to smaller SUVs from the class below. This is based on the Dacia Duster, and you can see the two cars do look pretty similar, but the Bigster is 23 centimeters longer than the Duster. Even though it is bigger, you can't have it with 7 seats, so it's a 5-seater only. And that means that if you do want 7 seats and you want a Dacia, the only option is the Jogger. But being bigger than the Duster and not having 7 seats means that the boot of the Bigster is enormous. And really, it is practicality where the Bigster stands out from a lot of the rivals that it's up against. The boot is comfortably bigger than what you get in the back of the Duster. How big depends on the different version that you go for with the car, but there isn't a huge split between the biggest boot in the Bigster lineup and the smallest one. This is the mild hybrid 140. Officially, it has the biggest overall capacity in the lineup, and it offers 667 litres of storage. Now, for some context, a Kia Sportage and a Skoda Karoq offer around about 580 to 590 litres of storage, depending on the version that you go for. So, compared to its rivals, this is really very good. We could fit a whopping 10 suitcases in the boot below the parcel shelf, compared to 7 in a Duster, by the way. So the storage space on offer in the Bigster is massive. What's also great is the fact that as standard, you get this height adjustable boot floor. And you can see in this highest position, you've got virtually no loading lip at the front. And because it's split, you can pop up this front bit to create a helpful divider between the two sections, or get it out the way to use the underfloor storage that's available to you. Because it's split in two, it can be a bit fiddly getting it in its lowest position, but it's still good to have this rather than not. Now, something that makes this different from the Duster is the fact that not only is it bigger overall, but in the Duster, the rear seats split fold 60-40. In this Bigster, they split fold 40-20-40. So that means you can fold down each of the 3 rear seats individually. And to do that, it's very easy because you've got these levers at the back here, which throw down the rear seats like so. And if you just want to put the middle seat down, you've got a tag on top of the seat back. And so overall, this boot is very good indeed. Now, it's not just the boot that makes this a practical choice. The rear seat area is fantastic as well. So I am 177 centimeters, sat behind my driving position, and legroom is brilliant. There's also some space for my feet under the seat in front as well. Headroom isn't as generous as legroom, especially with this panoramic sunroof fitted, but you'd still have to be over 6 foot tall to feel cramped in that respect. And ultimately, yes, an MGHS offers even more legroom, and it's also a slightly wider area that you're given in the back of that car, but this still cannot be described as cramped. It is very practical in these rear seats particularly. The only shame really is the fact that the seats don't slide or recline, but then in this class that is still quite a rare feature. It's only rivals like the Citroen C5 Aircross and the Renault Symbioz that offer that functionality in the rear seats. You do have a fold down centre armrest here, which you can see gives you 2 cup holders, and also these things that can keep your smartphone in place on a long journey. The door bins are on the small side, but really overall this is very practical in the rear seats. And so this is clearly a very practical choice, but it's not just its spaciousness that helps the Bigster stand out from its rivals. Like every other Dacia around, this is a low cost option relative to the competitors that it's up against. And so the starting price of this car, and indeed the higher trim levels, significantly undercut plenty of other equivalent family SUVs like the Kia Sportage, Nissan Qashqai and the Skoda Karoq, all of which cost thousands more to buy than the Dacia Bigster. In fact, the only other rival that comes close to this car in terms of pricing is the MG HS. To be fair, the HS is nicer inside than the Bigster. Now, it's not that things are terrible in here, but it does share much of this interior with the Dacia Duster. So that means that you've still got quite a lot of hard, cheap feeling plastics around. In fact, pretty much everywhere. Whereas in the HS, it's similarly priced, but it's got some actual soft touch materials and it just generally feels a bit more plush than what you get inside this Dacia Bigster. However, the two cars are harder to separate when it comes to actual build quality, because yes, while the materials themselves are of lower quality, the way everything's been screwed together still feels really solid inside the Bigster, built to last, very robust. And there are also some areas where this does have an advantage over the HS. For example, look down here at these physical controls that you have to very easily adjust things like the temperature and the fan speed while you're driving. And it's great to have that, because in the HS, instead, you've got a fiddly touchscreen or voice command system to do those same functions. Now, the touchscreen itself in the Bigster isn't amazing. It's well positioned and it's nice that you've got this smartphone cradle as well, but the graphics aren't the most appealing, and also there can be a bit of a delay when you're poking and prodding and switching between these different menus, so it doesn't feel really sharp in the way that it responds to your inputs. In terms of storage, you have a decent amount of it up front in the Bigster. You've got fairly good door bins. You've also got a lot of storage options and cup holders down here on the center console, and this central armrest lifts up to reveal a bit of extra storage as well. Plus, if you go for a journey or extreme version of the Bigster with the hybrid 155 engine, then this actually gets a cool box inside it. Now, we've already referenced some of the engine options, but let's go through them in a bit more detail now. And at the top of the lineup, you can have the hybrid 150 in the Bigster. Below that, there are two mild hybrid options. There's this mild hybrid 140 and a mild hybrid 130 4x4. And that's the only version of the Bigster that comes with four-wheel drive. Judging by our off-road tests of the Duster, it's likely that the 4x4 version of the Bigster will be surprisingly capable off the beaten track, but we haven't driven that version just yet. We have, though, spent a lot of time in the hybrid 155, which gets a 1.8 litre petrol engine, a couple of electric motors and a battery, and performance is great around town. It's also strong enough for long motorway journeys, and it returned an impressive real-world fuel economy result of 48.8 miles per gallon, which isn't 60.1 miles per gallon, which is the number for the official fuel economy of the car, but still 48.8 mpg is very good for an SUV of this size. But it's more expensive than this mild hybrid 140, and to be honest, the performance is fairly similar, and the difference in real world fuel economy won't be as much as you'd expect. So really, this mild hybrid 140 seems to be the sweet spot of the range. But whichever version of the Bigster you go for, you get a very similar driving experience, and that is a family SUV that is soft and comfortable. It passes over most bumps on the road in a really well cushioned manner. It's not perfect. Yes, there are bigger bumps that send hard thuds through the interior in a way that you wouldn't get quite so much in a Kia Sportage or a Skoda Karoq, which just feels slightly more sophisticated in the way that they go about things. But it's good that there's still enough control in this Bigster to mean that it's not bouncing around all over the place on undulating B roads like this. A Citroen C5 Aircross, by comparison, is way more wallowy than the driving experience that you have in the Bigster. In terms of handling, this isn't amazingly sharp, but it's still tied down enough to be absolutely fine. But the thing that does let the side down a bit is this steering, because around town it's absolutely fine. It's very light, smooth, easy, but it's really numb. So when you're going a bit faster and going around a corner, it doesn't inspire much confidence. And that is really an area where a Kia Sportage and a Skoda Karoq, although they're not sports SUVs, they do feel more polished and composed than the Bigster. But still, the driving experience in this is better than the MG HS, which is even softer but has less control as well. So really, on the road, this Bigster is pretty good. Now, while this might not exactly be a Porsche Cayenne on the road, it's comfortable, it's spacious, and it's well priced, all of which is probably more important to buyers looking at this type of car. And on top of all of that, it's also well equipped for the money that you pay. The cheapest Bigster that you can buy is the hybrid 140 in Expression trim, and that gets standard equipment like 17-inch alloys, dual zone climate control, electrically adjustable and heated door mirrors, a reversing camera and rear parking sensors. Stepping up to Journey trim adds a few more luxuries like an upgraded sound system, heated front seats, a heated steering wheel and an electrically operated tailgate. It's not a huge jump in price and you do get quite a lot of extra equipment, so it's definitely worth considering if your budget can stretch to it. Extreme trim is very similar but gets a few copper coloured styling features and hill descent control. When it comes to reliability, the Bigster is obviously too new to have any specific reliability data for, but in our latest reliability survey, Dacia as a brand finished 6th out of 31 car manufacturers and ahead of MG, which finished last, which is a very good, confidence-inspiring result. What's more, every Bigster is covered by Dacia's Zen warranty, which gives the car cover for up to 7 years or 75,000 miles, as long as you get it serviced at an authorised dealer every year. And that cover is better than what most rivals offer. But not everything is brilliant about the Bigster. It was given 3 stars out of 5 for safety when it was tested by crash safety experts Euro NCAP. The main drawbacks for the car were to do with its active safety systems rather than the crash protection it actually offers in the event of a collision. But still, 3 stars out of 5 isn't brilliant for a new car, considering most of this car's rivals get the full 5-star verdict. And so, overall, the Bigster is a practical choice. It also offers a pretty good driving experience that's comfortable, and it's also incredible value compared to the rivals that it's up against. Now, a Kia Sportage and a Skoda Karoq are objectively better cars, but they sit in a much higher price bracket than this SUV. So if you're after a car that's bigger than a Duster but still excellent value, the Bigster is a great choice. Thanks very much for watching this review. If you want to see another one, then click up there. Make sure you subscribe to our channel as well. And if you want to read more about the Bigster and every other car around, click on that link to go to whatcar.com.